The advice I'm going to give here, I would assume kind of applies to any online school. So if anyone's in another online school, it should apply. Online schools are, in general, like kind of universal in good approaches that you can use. So if you're just starting an online school, let's say Animation Mentor, there's a few things that I would highly recommend doing. One is be proactive in your learning and be active in your learning. So proactive, what does that mean? Basically, it means that every week you're going to be given your assignments, your lectures, your Q&As, all of this stuff that you need to do. So you're going to watch your lecture, you're going to do your assignment, you're going to attend your Q&A with your mentor. That's all good. That's kind of the base level, and you'll do well if you do just those. Ideally, you should be doing more. And doing more doesn't mean spending every waking moment animating and stressing out over your assignments. No. But there's only so much that any school can give information on. Everyone is at a different level in terms of their learning. So for example, when Cameron and I started Animation Mentor, I was decent with Maya. I had been using Maya for, what was it, like, we started AM when we were 24, 23. I'd been using Maya for almost 10 years up to that point, doing modeling and whatnot. I was very familiar with the program. So when I went into AM, I didn't need to look up any Maya demos for the most part. A few animation tools, sure, but I knew Maya. Cameron had never used Maya until the very first day of class. For him, he needed to go out and search for these extra demos. So when he wanted to do something in Maya and he started animating, it's like, okay, how do I do this? He has to go out and look for that information. Any school will try to provide as much as they can, but they can't guarantee that they'll provide everything you need because everyone's at a different level. For me, it was drawing. I didn't draw, so when I came in and came into the planning and all of that stuff, I struggled a lot. I had to find more resources to help with that. A lot of those resources are Animation Mentor, so you can find it there. But sometimes it's looking online, going to YouTube, just doing a little bit of research, being proactive with your learning. Do not just be passive and go, okay, they will give me all the information I need and I'll do with it what I will. If you reach a stumbling block, be proactive. Look for that information. Ask for that information. Like, attend streams like these and ask me. I'd be happy to let you know where to find it even. So just being proactive, that's a huge element. It's one of the things that I tend to see a lot of people not do. Not just in Animation Mentor, but just in general, like online. There's a lot of people who will start learning something and they're given the material that, like a lecture or something, and they'll hit a stumbling block and then just go, I can't animate, without going through the extra effort of finding the information themselves. So be proactive. Now, I said be active in your learning as well. Being active in your learning basically means that you should be paying attention to what you're doing when you're learning. If you're just sitting there and watching a lecture, but also going on Facebook and also going on Twitter and answering the phone and looking outside and all the pretty birds, how much of the lecture are you actually learning and absorbing? When you are animating, if you're animating but also checking Reddit on the other monitor and going on YouTube and watching a few videos as you animate, how much are you actually learning? How much are you absorbing into your head? Be active in your learning. When you're watching the lecture, question things. When I used to watch the lectures when I was a student, I would always watch the mentor or the lecturer and go, okay, what's their end goal here? What are they going to try to do? Can I guess what they're going to do? How are they going to approach this? I would always try to be active in the way I would listen to it. As I'm animating, even nowadays, I still do it. As I animate, I'm always thinking, why am I doing this? should I be doing this? How could I be doing this better? Is this the best choice? Like I'm asking myself these questions all the time. Be active. At the moment you start being passive and you're just kind of like animate, not paying attention, you might still make a good animation, but you're not going to know why you did it and how you did it. So always be active. So that's going to be two of the big ones there. Be proactive and then be active in your learning. Next, be a part of the community. This does not mean that you have to be a social butterfly. You don't have to talk and be on camera the whole time and just really be a people person. No. When I started Animation Mentor, it's kind of weird to think now because I spend so much time on Q&A and like on camera. I hated being on camera. I never went up on camera. I typed, but never talked like on microphone. It was really weird to think about now. But be active in the community. Again, it doesn't mean you have to be talking and like, hi, and just saying hello to everyone and chit chat and all that. You don't have to do that, but leave feedback. Ask for feedback. If someone posts good work, go, hey, that's awesome. Now, ideally, you should be leaving constructive criticism. That's the best way for you to learn, and we'll go over that in just a second. But just be active in the community. If you see someone like post something like, hey, this is a drawing I did just on the side, go, hey, that's really awesome. That's great work. Be a positive influence. So that's the next thing in terms of being active in the community. Be a positive influence on the community. This is probably one of the biggest ones. No matter which community you're in, whether it's Animation Mentor, whether it's an art community, whether it's Twitter, wherever, as animators, we are judged by how we treat others. Mostly because we are working in a very team-based environment. You work with a team. When recruiters hire you, they're hiring you based on your skill. So what your demo reel looks like, what your resume is. So essentially, if you're applying for a senior position, they want to make sure that you actually have the experience for it. That makes sense. And then they are also hiring you based on how well you will fit in their team. If you are a jerk, if you are one of those, like if you're a person who just badmouths everything that people do, someone will post something online and you only have negative things to say about it, a movie comes out, only negative things, you bash things, people don't want to work with that. Especially studios and like other animators, they don't want someone who's going to bash their work. It doesn't mean that they want someone who's just going to lick their boots and say only good things either. No, you can have opinions, but be respectful with your opinions and be constructive with your opinions. Constructive criticism, not just criticism. So that's a big part of it. Be a positive influence. Be someone that other people want to work with. If you do that, you're going to get hired very easily. And not only that, you're going to make a lot of friends in the industry. It's way more fun being being a nice person than being a jerk and then everyone just doesn't want to deal with you. That's not a way to work. I've never met an animator who's a jerk. I've been very lucky. Everyone I've ever met has been amazing. I've heard stories though. I've heard horror stories of certain animators, and most of them end with, and that animator never worked in the industry again. So you have to be careful. You don't want to burn those bridges. And again, it's not to say you can't have an opinion. Like, everyone has an opinion. I like certain movies, I don't like certain movies. I can say which ones I don't like, but I have to be respectful of it and not just go, it sucks, and anyone who loves it sucks. Ha! I know what I'm talking about. No, that's just rude and mean. So, let's see. Active, proactive, community, positive influence on the community. Another thing that can be very helpful, well, we'll just jump right into this one because it is a very helpful one. Get a good work-life balance. This is one of the hardest things to get right. I say this as someone who's just stayed up for 12 hours working before doing this stream. And it is now noon, so I started at midnight and I'm still going. Get a good work-life balance, because you only have one body. If you burn out, it's not going to be good for you. You need to take care of yourself. So as much as you can, don't do all-nighters. Take breaks, get up, stretch your legs, take care of yourself. It's good to do that. You are a better animator if you do that. If you don't, technically you're a bad animator. Like, this is something I struggle with a lot, is I have a terrible work-life balance. It's awful. And I don't say that like, hey, I'm gonna say this here. A lot of people have this kind of like, hey, I didn't sleep all night. I did an all-nighter. Hey, it's terrible for me, but I'm proud of it. And okay, there is a sense of pride in that. And Animated Paul, oh geez, 20 months. Jeez, thank you so much for the sub. Oh, I really appreciate that. Man, 20 months, almost 2 years. Jeez, how has it been that long? Wow. That's weird to think about. Like, there's this kind of sense of pride about, it's like an endurance thing. I ran a marathon. Yeah, I did an all-nighter. Whoa. For Cameron and I, we worked for 72 hours straight just on our animations when we were students. 3 days straight. Aside from just a few snacks and like getting up for stretching our leg once in a while, 72 hours. I wish we had never done that. That hurt us so bad, physically and mentally. You want to take care of yourself. Be good to yourself. There will be times when you have to do an all-nighter. Like for me, I had a very busy week this week. Things happened out of my control. Life happens. And I also had deadlines I had to meet. So I had to do it. But I don't want to make a habit out of it. If it happens, it happens. But it should not be, it happens because I've scheduled it this way. As much as you can, try to schedule a good, healthy life balance. That is a sign of a good animator. And it's hard. It really, really is hard. But it should not be the norm to not take care of yourself, to not eat, to not drink. Which reminds me, I should take a sip of water. That feels better already. So take care of yourself. What else? Starting AM. Be proactive. I feel like there was one other important thing that I tend to tell students. This is kind of a side note, but if you have the money and you haven't done it already, I would invest in a tablet of some kind, like an Intuos tablet, Intuos Pro. You don't have to get a Cintiq or a display tablet, but some sort of drawing interface. It'll help your wrist and give you more options as you animate. It's not necessary, but at some point it's a good investment. Taking breaks isn't bad. Taking breaks is very, very good. Taking breaks is something everyone should be doing. Ideally, the healthiest thing to do is take a break, at least like stand up from your desk every 25 minutes or so, 30 minutes. I tend to have a timer on my desktop that I'll just run, and it tells me when I should stand up. I don't use it all the time when I'm animating, but if I'm working on like spreadsheets or doing video editing, I'll use that because it's nice to get a break from all of that stuff. What else? Be active in the community. Oh yeah, last one. Post early, post often, and ask for feedback. This is something that I failed at when I was an animation mentor. I will admit that right away. I failed at it and I regret it. Honestly, I do regret it. When I was an animation mentor, I had the habit of not uploading my work during the week. So I would work on it, but I would never post a revision to get something looked at because I wanted to finish it. It had to be as perfect as it could be before I posted it for someone to look at. I had to fix every little tiny thing, and if I couldn't fix it, I had to keep struggling at it until I fixed it. So how does that help me? If I'm stuck on a problem and I can't solve it, it's good to try and solve it yourself first. That's how you learn. But if you've been spending like 2 hours on it, maybe ask for help. Maybe post your work online. Ask, hey, can you take a look at this? Once you get a good landmark of work done, like you've reached a good chunk of your shot, okay, I progressed far enough, post it for feedback. It's better to get feedback early and someone tells you, oh, this thing isn't working, before you spend another 3 days on it improving the thing that wasn't working. Ask for feedback early. It's just going to benefit you. And as an animator, we should be doing that in the industry as well. We shouldn't be, like, if you work at a studio and you work on your shot, they give you the idea and you get it like done, splined out, polished out. Haha, here you go, director, here's the idea. And they go, no, we're going in a different direction. You just wasted 3 days of working on this. No one's going to be happy. The director's not going to be happy, your supervisor's not going to be happy, and you're not going to be happy. Because you got to do all that work over again. Show it early, show it often. This is not to say that you should be reliant on feedback. You should be doing the work yourself. But again, when you reach those landmarks, post it, ask for feedback. Second, post early at the end of the week. There is a deadline at Animation Mentor. If you do not hit that deadline, you get a penalty. They treat it like a studio. A studio, you're given a deadline. You have to finish a shot by a certain time. We have to get into that habit. So, don't post late. Post like a few hours before the deadline at least. And then if you have another update later on, okay, then you can post it. You don't have to post it like 5 hours before the deadline and then go, well, it's posted, I'm done now. You can keep working on it. And then if you have an update, get it done. But at least try to don't bring it down to the like 5 minutes or something like that. Again, this is something that Cameron and I, we tended to fail at when we were at Animation Mentor. We would work on our assignment as much as we can, trying to get every little thing done until the clock was like 2 minutes left. Try to get it play blasted, upload it, write a comment. It was so stressful. If we had just uploaded a version that was not quite done, like a few hours earlier, sure, it's not the final version, but at least it's up there. And if my internet goes down or if something goes wrong, at least it's up there for my mentor to look at. So be very responsible with that. It's, again, part of being a professional is you want to post your work on a timely manner and not have people wait for you, not rush it right at the final line. That'll happen once in a while, but it shouldn't be the norm. For me, it was the norm, and that was bad. So don't do that. It's why I have so many gray hairs now, is that fighting that deadline. So those would be the main suggestions I would have. And then do you mean post on social media? Posting on social media, if there's a deadline, yeah, try to post early. But usually posting on social media is for yourself, so you don't have to worry about like hitting a specific deadline. And like, oh, I have to get it in by noon, and if I miss it, I don't get a critique, or I get a grade penalty, or something like that. Every school is a little different. It's also being respectful of your mentor, or in the industry, your supervisors. You want to be respectful of their time. If you upload late, that means they are then late because they can't look at your work, which means it throws off their whole schedule, and it throws off the person above them. It snowballs. We don't want to be the person who does that. Let's see. There's a few other questions here. After my heart attack, I'm on a med that makes me take a break every 10 minutes. Yeah, like you want to take care of yourself, especially if you have like health conditions. And health conditions don't have to be like as severe as a heart attack, which I do hope you're feeling better. Um, they, it can be a bad back. I have, uh, I wouldn't call it really an issue with my spine, but if I'm not careful and I turn my head certain ways, I can feel my neck pop. And if I'm really not careful, especially if I look up, my vertebrae will pop, and then I'm going to be out for 2 weeks and just can't move. It's not like a condition where it's like I have to be totally careful, but it's something that I have to be aware of. Does it stop my day to day? No, but I do need to take care of myself. I dislocated my shoulder once. I had a really hard time moving my arm for a long time. Does that mean that I should just keep going and work as if nothing happened? No, I need to stretch that arm. I need to make sure that mobility doesn't get lost again. There's all sorts of little things. It can be small things too. Your eyes, just the strain on your eyes looking at a screen. Take a break. It's better for you. And then you'll come back refreshed. Honestly, I can't count the times where I've been working on a shot, and it's like hours and hours pass and I can't get it. I just can't. Nothing's working. Why is it not working? I take a break, finally. Get up, walk around, 15 minutes later, come back down, sit. Oh, I should just do this. Fixed. That's happened so many times, and I still don't learn that lesson sometimes. I'll just sit on the problem and just try to brute force it, and it's like I should just take a break, walk away, have lunch, like go for a walk, take a shower, something. Those shower thoughts when you go into the shower and you just let your brain wander, like you come up with a lot of good ideas, surprisingly, in those times. So be good to yourself. Oh, that's the other thing. One last note, and then we'll go over the other questions. So one last thing about suggestions for an online school, or specifically Animation Mentor, but it applies to anything. Never compare yourself to anyone else. You can be inspired by people. You can look at another student, go, wow, their work is mind-blowing. How did they do that? Whoa, that's amazing. I can't do that. Never compare yourself to them, though. Never go, they're so much better than me, I suck. I can never do that. You never know how their journey is. When I started Animation Mentor, I had 0 animation experience. And I would compare myself to these other students who were just amazing. And at the time, I didn't realize that half of them had experience before. They had animated for years. Some of them worked in studios, and they were taking Animation Mentor as a refresher. So of course they're going to be great. I had literally 0 experience. I was a baker before Animation Mentor. I didn't even draw. Like I couldn't pose things out properly. Never compare yourself. The only person you should be comparing yourself to is your past self. Look at what you did before and see if you can do better now. That's it. So for me, like when you think about it, when I started Animation Mentor, even though I had a hard time animating and it took me a lot of work, if I look back to myself, like in class 1, look back at myself 2 months ago, I didn't even know how to animate. I had 0 experience. So that's already a huge boost. I know how to animate now, at least in some part. You're progressing. But if you're comparing yourself to others, it's not a fair comparison, and it's just going to demotivate you. So don't do that. Be inspired by them. Push them forward. Tell them that they're doing a good job. And then take that energy and push your own work forward. And kind of in that vein, treat yourself like you would a friend. This is one of the hardest things that took me a long time to learn, is I would always be so negative on my work. I still am, honestly. Where I would look at my work and it sucks. I'm terrible. Why do I even try? I was so hard on my work. And someone would come up to me and go, oh no, it looks pretty good. No, it sucks. It's terrible. I hate it. We all kind of do that in some way. Now, imagine that your friend, your best friend, made an animation. And sure, it might not be the greatest. Would you walk up to them and go, "That sucks. What did you do? Like, why are you even trying? You should just quit. Like, why are you trying to be an animator?" As if. Would you do that? Like, if you do, there's some other issues that we must talk about here. Most of us won't. That would be a jerk move. This is their dream. They want to follow their dream. And sure, they might not be the best. But wouldn't you want to encourage them? Wouldn't you want to tell them, there's some things that don't work, but here are some things that do work. And those things that don't work, well, how can we make that better? How can we address these? How can you help your friend be the best that they can be? For me, when I think about that, it's like, what would I tell Cameron, my brother, for anyone who doesn't know, my twin? What would I tell him when he's doing his animations and it's not working? Will I tell him, "No, you're right, that sucks, just quit"? No. I'll try to figure out, okay, what is missing in his shot? What can he do to improve that? What does he need to learn? What does he need to focus on? Okay, take that mentality and apply it to yourself. Treat yourself like a friend. You look at your own shot, and sure, you're gonna hate it. But instead of saying negative things about it and just being just a jerk to yourself, treat it like it's someone else's shot. What would you tell them? It won't come overnight. It's gonna be hard at first to look at your shot in that constructive manner. But the more you do it, the easier it becomes, and it becomes the norm. At this point, because I've been doing this for a while, like, again, I still don't like my work a lot. I'm very critical of my own stuff. But instead of being negative about it and go, "Ugh, I suck, I should just quit," I laugh at it. If I see, like, I did something really bad and it just turned out horrible, it's like, that is so stupid looking. Or if I try to draw something and it's just horrible, it's like, what a doofy looking drawing. I'll try again, and I'll learn from my mistakes. I laugh at my own failure. Not laughing at myself, but hey, it's funny to see how silly something looks sometimes. Or you animate something and it's just like all janky. You're learning. Things don't always turn out right. That's fine. That's part of the process. If you look at the scrap pile of professional artists and animators, that scrap pile is pretty big and it never gets smaller. That's part of it. You're gonna have failures. So use them as a time to learn. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. And I know we went on that for a while, but hopefully it helps other people as well. And would Cameron critique my work? Yeah. So Cameron had a desk that was actually right over there when we were in Animation Mentor. And we would just roll over, like just take our chairs, scoot over and look at each other's work. So he'd work on his assignment. Okay, take a look. And then I'd work on mine. He'd scoot over, take a look. So we'd always be looking at each other's work.